Hey guys, I'm here with another MTV music generator for PlayStation 1 tutorial. This is my first that'll be online. Uh, I've done one already. I will be doing something on how to compose an entire song with samples, and it can seem a little daunting, but it's pretty easy. So you can see right now, I'm in the riff editor screen. If I press triangle, I go back to the main screen where you have your music sheet here, uh, listed left to right. Left is the beginning and right is the end. Currently, we have an end and start of 1. So if I place another riff here, now I have an end and start of 2. A start of 1 and end of 2. So how do you create a riff? Square deletes the riff. Again, triangle gets you out of menus. And R1 will create a purple bar for you to create the riff. And if you press X on whatever length you desire, anywhere from 1 to 8 bars long, or units, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, you can now go in and edit. You can press X to place a note. It will play the note when you place it. I'm going to use a different sound. Actually, I'm going to stick with the sound. Currently, if you press L1, it will take you to the samples list, and you can have a choice of a few riffs or a lot of notes. I stick with the notes. I'm going to try some bass for this. I think that's what I'm going to do, yeah. So I'm going to go into synth bass and go to Nasty 2. It's a little bit louder than the first one. If you press X on it, it'll take you to the load and demo options here. Help will give you help options. I don't use that. If you press square, it'll play the note. If you press triangle, it will stop if it gets annoying. So if I press L1 one more time, I'm back into the menu where I was. So if I press X on this sample and go up to load, I have a choice of 11 kilohertz, 22 kilohertz, and 44 kilohertz. I like working with the lowest, the 11, because it takes up less space. So I'll press X on this, and I'll load it here to the number 1 because I'm not using the sax. And you can cancel to cancel or OK to confirm, and I will OK. And it only gives you that message when you're overriding or deleting something, typically. So it's kind of nice to have. So I'm going to go down to 2 and test this. And that's what I've created a note here. And how I've done that is I pressed X. Well, just pressing X1 once will give you 1 note. And you can repeat that, you know. What I've done is pressed X to start that process. But if I hold X, I now have a select window where I can stretch this note. And I can make it longer or shorter. And just pressing it once gives me a single note. So what I get when I play this by pressing start is a beat. And how I've done this is I've separated it in quarter note sections and contained it within the first 3 of the quarter note. And I either usually use the first of the quarter note and the second, or just the second and just the first. So try it with just the second and just the first, and also this little inclusion. And it still sounds good. So if I press X and continue this, I've now created a rhythm. Well, I can also go further than this and go and press circle and clone. Circle gives me a list of options for the song or the riff if it happens to be on a riff, or even when it's not. It acts kind of funny. But you want to use it on a riff. And if I go to clone, it's now created a second copy of that riff. And it's its own copy. So if I press R1 to go in and edit this, I can alter this sound. And now it's a completely different sound. And how that's determined is by its color. Its color changes when you create a new sound. Or new riff. You don't have to edit it for it to be a different color. It just counts it as separate. So if you see here, I've created a following rhythm. And I can even change this because having these two here is a little much. The two in the beginning follow each other. But this next to itself, it would just be better if I did this. I've pressed R1, and that has brought me into the editor screen, but what it's also done is now I've selected that riff. So now I can place it on the end here. If I press square, I want to get rid of this, I can delete it. But I can also delete something and keep it by pressing select and going over and then pressing square. Well, now I have a blue box. Well, what this blue box is it is both of my selections. I've selected two things, so now I've cut and paste this. I can also take and press select and press left and right to cover this whole section. If I press X again, I have a blue box. Well, this is the copied data. So now I have a rhythm, but we don't want it to repeat too much. I want some change in here. So I'll press circle again and I'll clone it. And cloning things multiple times gives you an option of altering your song. So I'm going to change a few things here. And then I'm going to clone this inside this so it's different. And place just one more note there. So I'm going to try this. By pressing start, I've now played the song. See, I've stopped right before it started on this note, but this is a good follow for this riff. And also, it's a good beginning to this one. So what I can do here is press R1 and select this, and then triangle to exit from the menu. So I would press R1 and then triangle. And now I'm back here. And now I have two. So it's a little stagnant. I can add a little something to this, and I'm going to. So R1 lets me again create, and I'm going to stick with the one unit. It's a lot faster to create this way. So I'm going to go up a little bit. I'm actually going to change instruments here. I don't want to use the high notes, but I want to stick with the bass. Bow Wow goes good with the sound I've selected. The Nasty too. And Bow Wow is kind of like a well, it's unique. So if I space it out, now I've got a rhythm to build on this rhythm. But I don't want it in the beginning. The reason I don't want it in the beginning is because I want the song to build out on its own and start and then build. So, here's everything. Now you see that sounds terrible. But if I go in here, I can change that. Everything else is on a lower key. And it's a little faster, so if I pick up the beat a little bit, and I put it on a lower key, I may or may not have a bass line. And that doesn't really match either. But if I take it even lower, it doesn't either. So what we found is the sound doesn't comply with the previous sound. Which makes me wrong. Well, we all are. So, sometimes anyway. I'm gonna see if I can select a different type of riff. I'll go away from the bass and go into melody and hard synth and choose acid alternate. I'll choose alternate. So without testing this, I know what this does. It's a key. But sounds very bassy when low. And I like taking it very low, so... See how this works. It's a little more spaced out. And that fits perfectly. I'll make it a little louder. It needs to be. I'll just stretch it here for 12 units. And I'll play it. Well, now I need to make the other part louder. So how do I do that? I just select it, press X to copy it, and press X again. So I'll play this one more time. And that's how you do it.